So in the book of Exodus, this is how we're to eat. Loin skirt, sandals on your feet, staff in hand, you shall eat like those in flight. It's very important. Run. Run as fast as you can. Get out. Get away from this place. It is dangerous. It is bad for you. And I want you to leave as fast as you can. Because we see God coming down and sometimes a not so pretty picture of God. And sometimes we don't want to think this way. But God comes forth into Egypt very strongly and says, I will go through Egypt striking down every firstborn. And what I'm doing, while I'm doing this, run. Leave this place of slavery. And sure enough, that's what happened. While Egypt was preoccupied with something terrible going on, Israel said, this is our chance. Let's run. And run they did. And in their running, they found something they had not experienced in a long time. And that was freedom. The freedom to worship God the way they want to worship God. The freedom against whips and chains. The freedom to do what they want. The dignity to be who they are. And what a wonderful experience. And God says, you're going to remember this. And this is a special meal. And you're to always remember this. Because we see God acting like a parent. What parent would not viciously attack someone who was trying to steal their children? Who wouldn't do that? And we see God acting that way. I will free my children. No one's going to bother my children. I will fight for them. And that's what God has done. And God says, now, you remember this. This is a meal now that you are to celebrate. And guess what? Here we are. We're celebrating that very meal now. And so that brings us up to the final Passover supper of Jesus. And it brings us up to now. But wait, there's always a catch. So take a deep breath. Because here we go. Enslavement. Terrible thing. We know enslavement is one of the worst sins that you could do to anybody. It's really what you're trying to do is put your will upon another person and force them physically or mentally or whatever to do whatever. It's like acting like God, but being very coercive about it, just mean about it. Slavery is a terrible, terrible thing. And what the Egyptians were doing were terrible. And we know that slavery is even occurring today. This sin has not been wiped away. It's occurring everywhere. However, once again, the source of it. How do we get rid of it? Well, this is not so pretty. Because it's easy to say, bad Egyptians. It's real easy. Oh, those are bad Egyptians. But wait. But wait. Now, I'm not like the Egyptians in the sense that I don't need pyramids built. And I don't need bricks made. But, if I really think about it, here's something important. I would really like each of you to do what I say. In a sense. And in my nicety, in my wonderfulness, in my everythingness that is so greatness, I have a great plan. And it would be nice if you listened to me and fulfilled my plan. Because the world would be a much better place if you would listen to me. And I don't mean that too boastful. Not too boastful. But I think I got a good plan. Now the problem is getting you to do it. The only way that I can get you to do it is to enslave you. And I can try to enslave you the best way that I can. Now, I'm not as good as the pharaohs. Don't have armies and all of that. So, I have to use other means and resorts to do things. I have to use the tone of my voice. I have to give you looks. I have to talk about you. I have to say things that I shouldn't say. I have to be mean sometimes. I have to be short. I have to be impatient. I have to do all these things to enslave you to the point that you will do what I want you to do. Bad Egyptians, bad me. Bad all of us. Whether we like it or not, there's a part of us that likes to enslave. We try to manipulate each other to do what we want to be done. And sometimes we do it in some pretty ugly ways. Some pretty sinful ways as well. It's just not pretty. So, before we kind of sit on the sidelines and cheer the destruction of Egypt, let's be careful. Because we can end up being Egypt. We can end up being the very source of enslavement during our life as well. But good news, we can fight it. And here we go. Take a deep breath, because Jesus is saying, okay, I want you to fight this enslavement. Run and flee. And how do we fight enslavement? By taking on the very posture of a slave. And this is so weird. Just as the cross is a contradiction and a sign of life, so now we are to be kind of a contradiction as well. What did Jesus do? He got down on his knees and started washing the feet of his apostles. So, what do we do? Oh my God. We've got to get down on our knees and serve one another. We take on the posture of a slave. We're on our knees. But here's the difference. We choose to do it. No one is beating us down. No one is shackling us. We choose to go down on our knees, and we choose to wash the feet of others. And that makes all the difference in the world. And in doing so, we confound the proud. We confound the smart. People say, what are you doing? You're crazy. I am here to help alleviate the pain and the suffering of the world. The only way we do that is through the posture of a slave. We get down and we wash each other's feet. And what does that mean? Well, for myself, it means, once again, I have to put away my own great, grand world design. And here's one way of getting down on our hands and knees and washing the other person's feet. Have you ever really tried to listen to somebody? To really listen. You know how hard that is? It is as hard as getting down on your knees and washing somebody's dirty feet. To really listen. Oh, I hear. We just hear noise all the time, and in our technological world, we were, texting and twittering and all of that. Even in a faster pace, we're hearing a lot. But to actually stop and listen, and that means I have to shut off my brain and actually die to myself so that I could hear the other person and what they're really saying. I think that's important. It is one little small way we wash each other's feet, and we have many ways. It's whenever we sacrifice our time and turn aside and say, you know what? Whoever this person is in front of me is the most important thing right now. And when we do so, slavery disappears. Enslavement disappears. And we find something more wonderful. We find Christ. But wait a minute. We're not quite done yet. One more thing. To take on the posture of a slave, to get down on our knees and to worship and to take care of others, Can't do it. No one in this room is strong enough, like I said, to truly listen to one another. I can go for a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And then after a while, I'm saying, I got to go here, and I got this to go, and, and I wish they'd shut up, and so I can just leave, and that kind of stuff. That's what we do. Not strong enough. So how do we do it? Well, we can. On that last Passover, Jesus says, from now on, when you gather, this is my body and this is my blood. So tonight we celebrate the Passover, and we celebrate now basically the beginning of our Eucharist. The beginning of where Jesus says, I won't leave you alone, don't worry, you're not by yourself. This is not just something that's, okay, I want you to do now, and I'm going to leave you to do it. No, tonight we receive the body and blood of Christ. We come to this altar, and what we receive here demands us and strengthens us to get down on our knees and serve one another. And when we're down there, we're going to get tired. When we get tired, come up and come back to the table. And then go back down and service. Oops, I'm tired. Come back up and get refreshed. The good news is Jesus has not abandoned us. God has not abandoned us. We have the body and blood of Christ, which is a tremendous gift if we would just use it. And tonight we are learning how to use it by washing each other's feet. And in doing so, we alleviate the slavery of the world, and we spread the good news, which is much needed in this world of slavery. Our calling is to alleviate that. And let us do that tonight and for the rest of this year by being a good model of what Jesus did.